Welcome to NTT20's League One recap, sponsored by Sky Bet and the Sky Bet EFL Building Foundations Fund and the new League One league leaders.
Oh boy.
Lincoln City, who went to Cardiff. First v second, the standout teams in this division, both on sensational form. And Lincoln beat them by 2-0. Now this game, in a way, settled into quite a predictable rhythm. One of the things that was most exciting for the neutral about this game is the different approaches of both sides, which meant that we broadly knew how the game would look. But what I didn't expect was how quickly it became clear that one of the teams was way clearer in their roles, way clearer in their tactical instruction, in their movements on and off the ball, and just had a better idea of how they were going to win the game. And let's start with the positives there, because that's Lincoln. They won 2-0. Skubala switched to a back five, bringing in Riley Towler for Jack Moylan, because Moylan, who's been basically the league's standout player over the last month or two, picked up a dead leg in the previous game. And I put it to you that could have been a bit of a blessing in disguise, because had Moylan been undeniably fit, there is no chance that he's dropping Moylan. But him coming out the side gave an opportunity for Skubala to consider a tactical change that clearly worked so well. Like, out of possession, they were like a brick wall, Lincoln. Cardiff barely got close to their goal. The closest they were coming in the first half.
Long shots.
Long shots being saved, admittedly, pretty well. One of them by George Wickens, who I really like in the Lincoln goal. But moving to a back five didn't seem to impact Lincoln that much when it came to getting shots off of their own and kind of picking their moments to attack and being able to hurt Cardiff whenever they did attack. Whereas Cardiff, it was disappointing, I'll be honest. A team that, I mean, how many thousands of words have we said in praise of Barry Murphy and Cardiff and their attacking play this season? So I'm certainly not overreacting to this, but I will say that it was disappointing watching an attack that looked a little ponderous and a little bit confused as to how they were going to go about creating big chances. It's just been quite rare this season that that's been the case. And it's easy to look at the fact that Omari Kellyman, who's played really well recently in a number 9 role in the absence of Josef Salek, was brought into the team and played off the right wing. And Tanner, who's been playing really well off the right wing, started the game on the left wing. And the Colwell brothers were the kind of central attacking players. Rubin as that kind of false 9, if you like, and Joel Colwell as the kind of number 10, where he's been very good recently. It's not where Kellyman or Tanner, who've been two of their best attacking players recently, have been doing their best work. And Colwell, Rubin Colwell, that is, having been out for the last couple of months, hasn't been in such good rhythm. So it just looked a bit awkward. But Lincoln didn't. They went back to front to go 1-0 up, winning the ball back after a poor touch from Tanner. Good ball forward from Hamer into Street. Him and Ben House combining brilliantly, just dominating Osho and Fish, the Cardiff centre-backs, looking more powerful, quicker, stronger, and clinical. Rob Street in front of goal after a lovely reverse pass from Ben House. And the second goal was Dom Jeffries kind of all the way, just on the break, down the left side, showing good speed and a good finish into the far corner. And Jeffries has made some nice contributions off the bench in recent weeks. Another sign of a great team is when the subs are so hungry and they're so ready and they're so motivated to come and impact the game because they're seeing what the starters are doing. And Jeffries very much fits that bill at the moment. He's looked better than I've ever seen him over the last couple of weeks. So really, really impressive. And George, on Lincoln, on Michael Skubala, I saw a tweet from Elliot at BWFC_Elliot. So a Bolton Wanderers fan,
football club, I reckon.
And he said, I think Lincoln are one of the best teams I've ever seen relative to the sum of their parts. And Michael Skubala deserves an enormous amount of credit. I think it's getting to the point where I probably agree.
I really agree, yeah. And also the way that if you look at these two teams, assuming they both go up, which is likely that they both will automatically, with such different styles of play, and you can almost see it here, like this could be a championship game from next season. One team dominating the ball, who've got a very good record of dominating possession, and players who know their roles very well, just coming up against just a wall and not being able to find a way through it. And this wall also are pretty confident they have the tools at their disposal from set piece or from open play of creating chances without having the ball very much. Like Skubala should be a perfect fit for Lincoln next season if and when they do go up. And I think he'll make a good fist of it. So, you know, there have been a few teams recently that have gone up from League One to the Championship who at least have that first time. And I think that naturally, with Lincoln, I'm sure Skabala will get poached and players will leave and the rest of it. And it may not be a long-term stay in the second tier, but I'd fancy them next season to defy gravity at least once.
Absolutely. Now, we could easily have led with Port Vale, couldn't we? Because League One's worst club this season, or certainly its bottom club, beat Sunderland in the FA Cup by a goal to nil on Sunday. It was just another wonderful example of what is broadly called the magic of the cup. George, this was one that we all just watched with a great smile on our face. It was fantastic stuff.
Yeah, so good. Really happy for Vale fans. They got something, well, they're in the last eight of the FA Cup. And who knows where it can go next. It's been a tough season for them, of course. I feel like John Brady's come in and done exactly what he needed to do, really. He's got everyone on side very quickly. The performances on the pitch have improved. The fans, I think, are buying into his positive attitude. And a cup run like this does incredible things, both from a financial standpoint, but also just giving fans who are likely going to be commiserating over a relegation relatively soon something to get really excited about. Interested to see who they draw. It was a great performance. They were very good on the day. Ben Wayne,
impressed with how they saw it out last 20 minutes.
They continued to attack.
Yeah. That one Ballard header was a bit too close for comfort. But apart from that,
they'll feel like they probably had a better chances at 1-0 again, or some better chances. There was the Hall incident where he was wiped out by Elberg, the Sunderland keeper, and it was a yellow card. I think Hall probably would have been able to get a shot off with his next touch. It probably wouldn't have gone in. So whether it's Dogzo or not I'll leave it up to you to decide. But it was decided by Anthony Taylor and the VAR that it wasn't. I think that's probably fair enough. But they were good. Yeah, they were really good. And they saw it out well. They beat Bristol City and Sunderland now. The only concern, as we discussed over WhatsApp, is that they now have an FA Cup game over Easter weekend.
Incredible.
Which means that the team who've played the fewest games in League One.
Yeah, so they're already 4 games back.
And anyone who listened to Good Month, Bad Month, that we are NT20.com listeners, will have heard me go through how manic their March is anyway. And then they're going to have their game on Good Friday and their game on Easter Monday, presumably postponed because they're going to have a FA Cup game Saturday or Sunday. So it's going to get very, very tight.
I think there could be a simple answer to a conundrum that has been, the schedule heads amongst us have been really enjoying this.
Heads.
Why is the FA Cup quarter-final weekend on Easter weekend? That feels abnormal, but sometimes Easter dates are the reasons rather than some sort of terrible fixture scheduling. But it means that I think they should be able to move the Good Friday game. Is there any reason they couldn't move that forward 2 days to Wednesday? And then their opposition probably wouldn't mind that much because then they'd have longer before their Easter Monday game. And then their Easter Monday game, they could push back maybe to the following Wednesday. So they play Wednesday, then FA Cup over the weekend, then Wednesday again. I don't know.
But then have they not probably already got a midweek game that week because they need to play so many games?
They can't have a midweek game if they're playing on Good Friday.
Tuesday night?
I don't think so. I don't think they do. Not sure you're allowed that.
It'd be the same as Wednesday night, Saturday, wouldn't it?
Yes. Anyway, last thing I want to say, which is just quite neat, is their 4th 1-0 cup victory in a row. They've had 4 home games in a row. And their Kiwi striker, Ben Wayne, who has been over in England now for about 3 years. And I think it's fair to say he's not been very prolific, but he has scored the winning goal in 3 of their FA Cup wins. And this was the best of the lot because as a huge Newcastle United fan, he celebrated his goal in the only way possible. Shearer!
Yep.
Shearer! Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Mansfield 1, Arsenal 2. They didn't get the glory.
So good.
Good God, they were good.
Yeah, they were really good. They took the game to Arsenal in a way that I don't think anyone saw likely. Like often, good cup displays when you've got a David versus Goliath like this one means that they're like plucky and they stay in it. But there were times where Mansfield just dominated this game. In the first half, they looked the likelier to score. Play called Max Dowman looks quite good. Maybe one for the England pod, but there was a moment where Sam Matterface called one of his runs and shots balletic, and I was like, that's exactly what it is. It's like he's dancing on the pitch when he's got the ball at his feet. What is he, 15? Is he 16 now? Unbelievable. But with Mansfield, they went behind maybe against a run of play. Will Evans then capitalised on a stray back pass. Seems like the kid, what's his name, the 16-year-old centre-back, got the penalty for it, but I thought I can't remember who it was now. The centre-back should have probably got a bit tighter. But Evans finished it so well, having just come off the bench. And they had more opportunities in the game to try and get ahead, but Berriese. Nice to mention his name on the podcast again. Just it's one of the hardest shots thing I've ever seen kicked in my life.
Showing no respect for
Absolutely
his
ridiculous.
EFL heritage.
So good. I mean, what a hit that was.
Mate, I can statify your sense that Mansfield had about as good a go against Arsenal as anyone else this season.
Go on.
They played 46 games this season, Arsenal. And they're one of the most impressive defensive sides in world football for this millennium.
I thought they were going to break the Chelsea
no
goals conceded
one
record.
thought they were realistically going to break that record. But in their 46 games this season, only one team's had more shots against them than Mansfield had, which was 18 shots. And that was Man U on the first day of the season. And it was 1-0 to Arsenal. So Man U, the only team in 46 to have had more shots than Mansfield Town did against Arsenal. But they didn't score in that game, and Will Evans famously did for Mansfield. Nice little shushing to the Arsenal fans as well, which I absolutely loved. More good stuff to talk about. What a weekend across League One and the FA Cup for those League One teams. Bolton 3, Wycombe Wanderers 2. The scoreline does not tell what happened here.
This is one of the games of the season in world football.
Yeah. It's one of the games of all time in world football.
This is one of the best games ever in any sport, ever. Unless you're a Wycombe Wanderers fan. Because you go to Bolton, right? Obviously not an easy game. Bolton in the playoff places. Wycombe having just forced their way in, trying to stay there. Corley Woodrow scores a header in the first half to put Wycombe 1-0 up, and deservedly so. Luke Harris, the loanee, who's doing well there, then prods home a corner to make it 2-0. Bolton, who've been so good at times this season, don't really get near Wycombe. Have 2 shots in the whole first half. One of them was on target, which was very early on in the game. That was saved well, tipped around the post by Norris, but apart from that, they have very little. Then the second half happens, and the frustrating thing, I think, for Wycombe is that they had chances to make it 3-0 in the game. Woodrow had a decent chance that was well saved. Nathan Lowe had a chance on the line that was also saved. They had 5 shots on target in the second half, Wycombe. And no one could have seen what was about to coming. Still 2-0 up with 3 minutes to play. And Ruben Rodriguez scores his first goal for the club with a nice finish from close range to make it 2-1. Then we go into injury time. Mason Burstow with a kind of towering header, really brave header to make it 2-2 after a good bit of work from Corey Blackett-Taylor down the left-hand side. And then Blackett-Taylor gets on the ball, like 95th minute. And you can kind of, in the footage, you can kind of hear a crackle of excitement amongst the home fans. Yeah. And he cuts inside and the whole thing just opens up for him. And when you're thinking, you're like, surely he's not going to score from here in the 96th minute to make it 3-2. And it's just an unbelievably pure hit into the top right-hand corner. And the camera angle for it is so perfect. So Bolton turn it around from being 2-0 down after 87 minutes to win the game 3-2. Like, unbelievable scenes for them. It's especially with Cardiff having lost their game. It brings them closer to Cardiff. It keeps their top 2 dreams alive. Basically, in one moment, they go from looking behind them to fear for their top 6 position to suddenly being back in with a chance for top 2 berth. Unbelievable finish, ridiculous assist and goal from Blackett-Taylor, who's clearly the kind of the MVP of the game of the whole piece.
And I think almost made even better by the fact that Corey Blackett-Taylor, I would suggest that in his time in the EFL with Tranmere, with Charlton, with Derby, there are a few knowns about Blackett-Taylor, which is that when he's fit, which is an issue in itself, he is like dynamite in terms of his ball carrying ability, his speed, and his like dribbling essentially.
Yeah.
But that his final product has always not matched that, if it's fair to say. Every player's got strengths and weaknesses. Blackett-Taylor's technique, essentially, when it comes to shooting and crossing, has been somewhat lacking. I would suggest that's why he hasn't cracked higher than the Championship. This is only his second goal from outside the box in his career. He scored 24 career goals per, who scored only a second from outside the box. So even Blackett-Taylor being the one to score that exact goal feels kind of improbable. It's amazing, really. And I want to shout out Duncan Alexander, who many will know as Oily Sailor on Twitter. One of the real OGs of football Twitter and football media, I would suggest, from his days at Opta for an awfully long time and now at The Athletic. He's a massive Wycombe Wanderers fan. He's also someone who's, like, part of his life's work has been constantly debunking the myth that 2-0 is a dangerous scoreline.
Yeah.
Like, that for him is like my hatred of the use of the word momentum around playoff time, when people just lazily go like they've got the momentum and it stops any other analysis, it trumps any other analysis, it doesn't really mean anything. Duncan's had a similar thing about the classic line that 2-0 is a dangerous scoreline, which really is just a huge example of confirmation bias, or rather outcome bias, or rather availability bias. Basically, you remember the times where you were 2-0 up and you didn't win because they're particularly painful. But you kind of forget all the times you were 2-0 up and you just saw it out. And that is generally what happens. I say all that to say that Duncan, who basically like invented stats when he worked at Opta and who hates the myth that 2-0 is a dangerous scoreline, is a massive Wycombe Wanderers fan, was at the game on Saturday. And it is a record-breaking game because Opta confirmed they have no records of a team in the Premier League or the EFL ever losing after leading 2-0 that late in a game.
Wow.
That is the first time that a team, since probably 2004, I guess.
That's really interesting. Because you'd think there might be somewhere like there's a long stoppage. So you got like 40 minminutes of added on time.
Not even that. Often. You're trying to find a loophole, and there ain't one.
Okay.
Incredible. Tell me about Bradford's 10-man win at home to Leyton Orient. Big for them.
Yeah, a 10-man win, but it didn't really feel like it because even when they were down to 10 men, Bradford continued to be, as they were in the first half, the better team here. Anthony Sarcevic getting both goals. The promotion magnet is after another one. A couple of decent finishes.
Is that magnet like something that attracts, or is that magnate, like an oil magnate? Because I think both work.
He's the magnate. He's
the promotion magnet magnate.
Yeah.
That's wonderful wordplay.
Thank you. He scored a couple of decent finishes. The first one maybe should have been saved at the near post, but it was kind of Bradford's pressure telling before Ollie O'Neill, with one of Leyton Orient's very rare forays forward, scoring with a nice finish to make it 1-1. In the second half, it was one-way traffic. Sarcevic scoring just after Baldwin had been sent off to put Bradford down to 10 men for the last 15 minutes or so. Orient managed one shot from then on. I mean, one shot in the whole second half. So no shots up until the red card. No shots until Sarcevic made it 2-1. And then in the 93rd minute, Ballard had a hit from outside the area that went wide.
It's ugly, man.
You're 2-1 down away from home against 10 men. I really, really worry about Orient. It feels like things are just not working there at all. And it is still very congested down there. They're now in the relegation zone, the 21st. 21st. And yeah, I'm struggling to come up with any reasons really why they are going to improve right now.
Yeah, others around them have, to a certain extent, Wigan, Doncaster, Burton.
Yeah,
they need to pull something out of the hat.
But big win for Bradford is the important kind of positive here, and a good win, and they're impressive in doing so. Off the back of that 2-1 defeat against Reading, they go to Port Vale in midweek, which you think is a game that they should relish, especially after Port Vale's exploits on the weekend, and might make it a little bit after the Lord Mayor's show. You would hope. So they're realistically the top two looks like it's going to be a tall order, but they need to keep these wins up to ensure that the teams outside the playoffs don't make ground on them, especially having lost to Reading, who are doing exactly that. So yeah. Impressive because of the manner of the defeat against Reading, I guess, as well. For them to come out and play the way they did was important. Yeah,
so Port Vale will have had, obviously, the Lord Mayor's show, and then they'll welcome the distinguished individual, the promotion magnate for the next one. So there's just a lot of, very distinguished people to come. Huddersfield beat Rotherham 1-0, and it was a pretty ugly performance again, and it was a winning goal, an own goal. What won it for them? And a few things to touch on here. I mean, in terms of the match, some early saves from Nichols in the Huddersfield goal, Gray, the youngster on loan from Leeds, and then McWilliams going quite close, and Nichols had to be sharp. 59th minute, Murray Wallace stepped forward from the back for Huddersfield and had a shot from range, which was saved easily by the keeper. And it was Huddersfield's first shot on target, and it elicited if I'm honest, quite sensational reaction from the Huddersfield fans. Like one of the greatest, ironic cheers and one of the biggest way. And then it led to, somewhat predictably, the chant, which is, "We've had a shot, we've had a shot." And so they win the game 1-0. It's an own goal. They did come on a bit stronger in the last half an hour. A couple of chances, almost all from set pieces. They get the win. there's obviously some chat afterwards. Liam Manning is asked, how did you feel when the fans sang, ironically, "We've had a shot"? And he said, well, he did the classic modern manager thing of saying what he wants to say, which is, it doesn't help the team. And then, but I understand. I really understand. I promise I really understand. I really understand why they're feeling that way, but it doesn't help the team, so please don't do it. But I do understand. I want to make that very, very clear. So for me, I think it's kind of interesting because one thing's definitely clear, and that is that Huddersfield's attacking football is really bad right now. This is not the case where the fans are being facetious. What they are watching is really bad in attack. 10 goals in 9 games since Liam Manning joined is not a great goal return. As Lee Grant was pleased to write on LinkedIn last week when reflecting on his dismissal, I think they were the top scorers in the league when Grant was sacked, so they had scored quite a lot of goals. They've not done that under Manning. And they're not exactly wasteful either, let's be clear. It's not like they're just missing really good chances and they're creating loads. They're not creating much, and this is a case in point. But I think for completeness, we should point out that they have conceded the second fewest goals in the league since Manning came in. And I think it's fair to point out that he's basically started his tenure by solving Huddersfield's biggest issue. And clearly they had an issue, and that's why they sacked the last manager. And within the space of a few weeks, Manning has succeeded in solving the biggest issue that they had, and I think he should get some credit for that. And I think joining mid-season with whatever there was, 20 games to go, that was a smart thing to do. That was the right thing probably to do in order to make it more likely that they succeed in making the playoffs, winning the playoffs this season, which has to be their objective. So do I understand the fans in that moment cheering a shot on target after a drab first hour of football completely? Maybe I would say don't compound it by following up with the chant. I think we can get away with the cheer and the wave, but maybe not the chant. I'm going too deep here, but I think it's quite an interesting situation right now with fans and their support or their disappointment in the team and how they express themselves. And it's something that is being talked about a lot because players and managers have been so explicit that stuff like that doesn't help them perform well. It tenses them up. Yeah. It makes them feel worse. It's negative energy. It makes them play worse. That's what they say. So everyone knows that. All the fans that are doing it know that. No one could possibly say that they don't understand that. So I don't really know what you can say about the situation because I don't think fans are going to stop doing it anytime soon. No. So you're in a situation where they feel obliged to or empowered to basically express their emotions in a precise moment, and that's more important than doing something that might support the team or help the team. And it's, well, there you go. Huddersfield fans are not unique in this, by the way. They're just, I think, notable at the moment because their team's been rubbish for a few years, and so this situation has presented itself maybe more than others. But yeah, it's something that, again, it's not even really specific to Huddersfield. It's kind of a trend across the leagues, that something that gets talked about quite a lot on NTT20 squad, which I think is worth mentioning. Stockport didn't play. They're in 5th. So we got Bolton 64, Bradford 61, then Stockport 5 points back on 56, and then Huddersfield on 55. And then it's carnage outside the top 6. And it was a chaotic weekend. And Luton hosted Reading, and they lost 3-2. And Georgia, I don't know if you've ever watched someone punch themselves in the face, but that's what it's like watching this back from a Luton perspective. And not just one punch to the face, but 3 punches to the face. So the first goal, Big Kelvin, having to fill in for Jack Marriott, who's injured. Big loss for them. Big Kelvin, not many goals this season. Lots of questions from the fan base. Izzy Jones just heads one perfectly into his path, the Luton right-sider, and he says, thanks very much, 1-0. Luton drag it back over time. They huff and they puff, and they get 2 goals. Longvik and Saville, both benefiting, fairly simple balls into the box. They attack them well. They finish them off. Luton have the lead at home in a big game. Just see it out, lads. No, we won't. Johnson, the youngster, gives it away at the back. And Matt Ritchie gets on the ball and provides basically the one moment of pure quality in the game, an outside of the boot cross for Big Kelvin to equalise for 2-2. And then the Luton keeper plays a free kick short, and they're disorganised, and no one's really ready for it, and they're just discombobulated at this point. And Naismith makes a bad touch, and Ritchie robs him, and Big Kelvin finishes for a 3-2 win, for a hat-trick. And Reading fans in raptures in the away end. Now, this is a massive, massive win for them. Their unbeaten run continues. They are outside the playoffs by 1 point, but they have a game in hand over Huddersfield. They're only 2 points behind Stockport at this point. They're one of the form teams in the division. And as for Luton, they're now down in 11th. I think they're fans broadly think their playoff hopes are effectively gone. 8 points off it now. Still 11 games to watch this underperforming team. And for a game that was played between 8th and 10th in League One to be as bad as that game was, in terms of a lack of control, a lack of basic technical ability and execution, was quite astounding. But I'll never not grin at a big Kelvin hat-trick because I still have some stocks in him. And that's important for my future return. Stevenage got a win as well. They
Hypothetical stocks, we should say.
Massively part of this conversation, aren't they, Stevenage?
Yeah. I mean, yes, basically. Jamie Reid with the only goal in a 1-0 win, where this was kind of the blueprint of what we've seen Stevenage be at their best this season. It's back-to-back wins now. This is the first game in a while. Previously, we saw a lot of Stevenage games finish either low-scoring draws or wins to 0, having been beaten 3-1 in back-to-back games against Barnsley and Northampton. We then have seen kind of slowly Stevenage kind of find their defensive shape again, apart from the 3-1 defeat against Wycombe, and back-to-back wins against Stockport and Burton are really impressive. The way that Burton, especially at home, aren't a bad attacking team. They tend to create chances, but really struggle to do so here. It was a good finish by Reid. Stevenage were pretty good in the day, and I feel like there's a few managers I'm kind of paying a lot of compliments towards, but I do think for Alex Ravel this season to have the fast start that they had, to fall away the way that they did, and then to refine their form. It's not often that you see that, especially with clubs who were kind of punching above where you'd expect them to be early on. Normally they kind of redress back to where we kind of thought they would be, but they're still right there with Huddersfield playing poorly, with Stockport having their own issues. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they force their way back in the way they're playing at the moment.
Plymouth 2. Doncaster Rovers 1. Now, we wondered on the betting show, would we see the Argyle from that great 5-2 win against Cardiff in their last home game, or would we see the Cardiff that lost to Rotherham in their previous league game? And the answer was a bit of both, but probably a bit more of the former. They went behind to Donny, and it was Elliot Lee scoring one of those goals that you dream about, where the ball falls out the sky onto your right foot volley, and it comes off so sweetly that you probably don't even feel it, but you see it fly into the top corner. Absolutely brilliant, but in a losing cause. Bim Peppel, still doing the business. Some nice centre-forward play in that. The ball is heading to the centre of the box from across from wide. It's not coming to him. He's at the back post, kind of deep. So he gambles. He doesn't stand still and wait and see what happens. He crashes the 6-yard box to see where the ball will end up, and he benefits from it because it goes straight to him and he taps in from close range. Owen Bailey handballed a shot, which led to a penalty saved. Ronan Curtis's penalty. Would that prove costly? No. Herbie Kane. Remember him?
Yes.
A wide free kick, curled in perfectly. Matthias Ross, who's a big goal threat from set pieces, didn't touch it when well placed, and that sort of wrong-footed the keeper and it went into the far corner. So 2-1 to Argyle. They are 6 points off the playoffs, but they get back to winning ways. George, Barnsley are quite an interesting team for me at the moment in League One. They beat Exeter by 2-1.
Yeah, more David McGoldrick being David McGoldrick, really. He scored the first goal with a really nicely taken finish. He didn't score the second goal. He assisted the second goal with a very good cross that was headed home by Vimal Yoganathan. And yeah, they were pretty good for it. Exeter under new returning manager Matt Taylor. Got one back with Jaden Wareham from close range to make it 2-1. But yeah, Barnsley running out deserved winners here. And still, because of their games in hand, you cannot rule them out forcing their way in the playoff picture, because even though they're 12th, with 47 points from 33 games, they played 3 games fewer than Huddersfield and are currently 8 points behind them. So if they win all of those, then they would be above them, which is looking unlikely. But even so, with Didsey playing the way that he's playing at the moment, really good bit of centre forward play by Tom Bradshaw in the first goal, who isn't the tallest, but as I mentioned in my write-up from when he signed, he's very clever, and he got the flick on for the first goal for McGoldrick, and he does use his nous pretty well in that regard, and a pretty experienced front two those two are as well. So again, they're a Jekyll and Hyde team. They seem to win one week and lose the other, but they've definitely got the quality to go on a bit of a run.
I'll never not like a team that after 33 games has scored 55 goals and conceded 55 goals.
Why not?
110 goals total, split evenly across 33 games, and have kept 2 clean sheets in 33 league games, and yet are not only in the top half, but 10th on PPG and still within the shout of the playoffs. I mean, there's still quite a lot of supporter unrest. Some fans actually delayed the game by throwing tennis balls onto the pitch in protest at, I guess, Barnsley's ownership, but I guess more specifically the strategy of the ownership. Again, another one that I think for neutrals is kind of hard to swallow, leads to this idea that fans are getting a little bit too impatient and a little bit too dramatic on stuff. I think when it comes to Barnsley, it's kind of an interesting one where if you look at their last 20, 25 years, like last season's finish, which I think was 12th in League One, was their lowest finish since 04-05. And this year, obviously, they're mid-table in League One again. So what is undeniably true is that for 20 years, Barnsley were a top 8 League One, bottom 8 Championship team fairly consistently. And in the last few years, they have kind of melted away a little bit to being a team that now just aren't considered one of League One's big dogs. And certainly financially don't seem to show the ambition, by which I mean the spend and the losses of some of the other teams at this level. I mean, they are likely a team, as all are, that lose a lot of money anyway. So really it's a case of like how much loss owners are willing to foot.
Yeah.
And at the moment, the fans really not happy with how things are being run there. Wimbledon beat Northampton 1-0 on Sunday. Marcus Brown with a glorious back heel to set up Callum Maycock to continue his kind of breakout form. He's over 18 months into his Wimbledon career, but it's this last month or so where Maycock, his kind of box-to-box number 8 play, goal threat, he set up a couple of goals as well, has really come to the fore as Johnny Jackson made a crucial personnel switch a few weeks ago, dropping captain Jake Reeves and going for an Ali Smith, Miles Hippolyte, Callum Maycock midfield, and it's just worked so well. They look so much more front-footed, quicker, more athletic in midfield. They've really improved their attacking play over the last few weeks, and yeah, it's a hell of a turnaround from where they were maybe a month ago. With this win, Wimbledon hit 46 points with 12 games to go, which for any promoted team is a great target to hit this early in the season, but particularly as they are with Exeter, a bottom 2 budget team for the level, massively up against it in so many ways. And I think there's just there should be a lot of love for what Wimbledon and Exeter do in League One. It was a good first half display. The second half was a bit trickier, but Northampton lower than a snake's belly right now. A lot of boos from the away end, fully turned on Kevin Nolan. They've lost 10 of their last 16. They've got 8 points in that time, and they look likely relegated unless they can turn things around. But as is always the case, down at the bottom, there's only 3 points between them and safety. Any team that gets on a run, no one is absolutely doomed yet. Blackpool 1, Wigan 1, 2 teams down there. Maybe not an ideal point for either, but probably better for Wigan, really. And they came from behind, Casey heading Blackpool in front. And then Moxon from range. We haven't said that for a while. It was a real staple of his game at Carlisle, equalising for Wigan. They went closest at 1-1. Joe Taylor hitting the post, going for what I think would have been the 5th game in a row in which he scored, but not quite. Better point for Wigan, I'd say. And I'm going to see Blackpool live on Wednesday night at Wimbledon. Pretty worried about them, so we'll have to check in on that. They are just outside the relegation zone, 2 points above Orient on 36, Rotherham 35, Northampton 35, Vale 27 with 2, 3, 4 games in hand. Above the dotted line, you've got Blackpool and Wigan on 38. You've got Doncaster on 39, Burton on 40, and Cup Darlings Mansfield on 41. So, yeah, League One had its big fixture at the top of it. We had some FA Cup glory as well for Vale. Great weekend and enjoyable recapping it with you. Thanks to Sky Bet and the Sky Bet EFL Building Foundations Fund for sponsoring this episode. Cheers and go well.